Hi, my name is Jeff with the Minnesota Department of Revenue. We're here today to talk about gambling taxes. Our objectives for today are to understand your filing requirements, to explore the benefits of e-services, to discuss common audit findings and results so that you will know what to expect when you get an audit letter. We currently have 8 forms of lawful gambling. They include link bingo, which is bingo played at more than one site at the same time, non-link bingo, raffles, paddle wheels, paper pull tabs, electronic pull tabs, tip boards, and sports themed tip boards. All the activities from these games must be reported on your lawful gambling monthly tax return. So how are these games identified in our system? Well, with the exception of raffles, each game has 3 unique identifiers. There's the manufacturer ID, part number, and the serial number. This game information can be found on the game flare, on the game box, and a loose label located in the box. The loose label must be placed on the barcode label sheet if you're filing on paper. If you lose the label, the information can be handwritten on the barcode label sheet. But it is important to note that all 3 identifiers, the manufacturer ID, part number, and serial number, must match the invoice exactly from the distributor, or the game will not be removed from inventory. So let's review the monthly tax forms and schedules. Returns can be electronically filed through e-services or on paper. If you conduct link bingo or electronic pull tabs, then you are required to file electronically through e-services. The monthly tax returns are made up of the following forms and schedules. The Form G1, which is the lawful gambling monthly return. Schedule B2, the report of barcoded games. Schedule ER, the tax credit for exempt raffles. Schedule NRL, net receipts loss schedule, and the barcode label sheet. Now let's go through each of these forms in more detail now. The lawful gambling monthly return is Form G1. This is a summary of your monthly gambling activity. This information comes from and should match your LG 100As from the Gambling Control Board and your Schedule B2s. This form will account for all gambling activity conducted during the month and will calculate the taxes due. All gambling organizations will submit one Form G1 every single month, whether you've had any gambling activity or not. Barcoded games that have been closed are reported on the Schedule B2s. The Schedule B2 is for your paper pull tabs, paddle wheels, tip boards, and sports themed tip boards. Bingo, raffles, and electronic pull tabs are not reported on the schedule. Games must be separated by site, game type, and game status. So if you file on paper, you will have a separate Schedule B2 for each site, each type of operation, and each form of gambling. Schedule ER is the lawful gambling tax credit for exempt raffles. A licensed organization can conduct a raffle tax exempt in which the net proceeds are used exclusively to help relieve the effects of poverty, homelessness, or disability for an individual or family. Schedule NRL is a net receipts loss schedule, and you complete this schedule if you incur a loss on bingo, raffles, or paddle wheels. It is used to offset tax in a subsequent period. It's a form that is rarely used, but the purpose is to give you a credit on your net receipts losses from month to month. The barcode label sheet is needed only for those of you who are filing paper returns. It is not required for those of you filing through e-services. The barcode label sheet is used to remove the games from your open inventory. To complete the barcode label sheet, you affix the barcode label from each game played during that month. If the barcode label is not available, you can write down the manufacturer ID, part number, and serial number for that game. Worksheet E is used by organizations that file on paper to determine their combined net receipts tax. Combined net receipts tax is a tax on your electronic and paper pull tabs, tip boards, link bingo activity, as well as interest and other income. It's a cumulative tax that runs on the state's fiscal year, which is July through June each year. If you file through e-services, you do not need to complete this worksheet as it is calculated for you based on your prior month's filings. One thing to note is that if you're a paper filer, forms and schedules are sent to the Department of Revenue, while worksheets are kept by the organization. Do not send worksheets with your return. Returns are due on the 20th of the following month in which the activity occurred. Returns are due even if there's no activity for the month. Extensions are available and must be requested in writing. Email is okay. So what are the taxes and fees on the lawful gambling tax return? Well, there's a net receipts tax, and that's 8.5% of net receipts, and that is for non-linked bingo, raffles, and paddle tickets. There's combined net receipts, which is calculated using worksheet E, and that ranges from 9 to 36% of your net receipts, and that is for paper and electronic pull tabs, linked bingo, tip boards, interest and other income. And then there's the Gambling Control Board monthly regulatory fee. That fee is 0.125% of total gross receipts. That's reported on the G1 tax return. The fee is collected by revenue, then transferred to the Gambling Control Board, and that is currently how the Gambling Control Board is funded. Currently, you can file through e-services or on paper. If you play electronic pull tabs or link bingo, then you are required to file through e-services. Also, if you pay any of your Minnesota business taxes electronically, then you are required to pay all your business taxes electronically, even if you're a paper filer. These can be done online through e-services or by phone. If you're not required to pay electronically and prefer to pay by check, you can still do that, but it does need to be accompanied by a payment voucher. If your organization is filing a paper return and decides to pay by check, then a voucher is needed to accompany the check. This could be for an amended return payment, an extension payment, or just a regular return payment. Typically, you'll be selecting the return payment voucher. However, if you're filing under an extension, you may want to select the extension payment. If you ever need to correct your return and owe additional tax, then you would select the amended return voucher. When you create a voucher using our payment voucher system, you will need the following information: your organization name, taxpayer ID, mailing address, and payment amount. You'll click on the button that says Begin Payment Voucher to proceed. If you file or pay late, the following penalties may apply. Late file penalty is 5% of unpaid taxes. If you file late, a late filing penalty will be assessed, which is 5% of tax not paid timely. Late payment penalty is 5% of unpaid taxes for each 30 days, up to 3 increments. This is due even if you file your return on time. If your payment is 1 to 30 days late, the penalty is 5% of any unpaid taxes. If it's 31 to 60 days late,
it increases to 10%. And if it's over 60 days late, it increases to 15%. Repeat penalty is 25% of taxes owed if payment is late 3 or more times in a 25-month period. Payment method penalty is 5% penalty, applies to the amount of the payment not made electronically if you're required to pay electronically and you do not. Minnesota businesses that are required to pay tax electronically must pay all Minnesota business taxes electronically. Organizations can request abatements. The Commissioner may abate, reduce, or refund any penalty or interest if the failure to timely pay the tax or failure to timely file the return is due to reasonable cause, or if they are located in a disaster or state of emergency area. This must be done in writing. Email is okay. Instructions on how to request an abatement or appeal will be provided in the letter we send. If you have any questions, please refer to the contact information listed on the letter.
E-Services provides many benefits to your organization. It can simplify your filing routine, complete your returns and payment in one process, catch any errors before you file, and reduce paperwork and postage. We recommend that all gambling organizations file through E-Services. Minnesota E-Services allows you to access your accounts and conduct business online with the Minnesota Department of Revenue. You can view your business taxpayer records, file returns, make payments, update information. You can access E-Services right from the homepage of our website. It's available 24/7. If you forget your username or password, you can just reset that yourself. And we do offer two-step verification for added security. Once you log into E-Services, this is the page that you'll see. On top is a navigation bar. As you select items in E-Services, the navigation bar updates with breadcrumbs. Users can use the navigation bar to return to prior screens. Alerts. The alerts change depending on the screen you are on. They provide reminders to users about unread messages, filing, and payment reminders. The I want to section shows available actions. The actions change depending on what screen you were on and your access level. Information tabs. These tabs have a variety of information on it, including accounts, history of what you've saved, submitted, letters, messages, contact, and organization information. There are two options for filing a gambling return through E-Services. Option 1 is a simple file import, and this works best for organizations that are using a software. The second option allows you to manually input your return data. E-Services that will then calculate the taxes based on the information you enter for each form of gambling. After you submit your return and receive your confirmation, you realize you made a mistake. So how do you fix the error? Well, unfortunately, we're unable to fix amended returns through E-Services. So regardless if you're a regular paper filer or a filer through E-Services, all amended returns must be submitted on paper. So here are some reminders. If you ever need to file an amended return, as I said, it must be filed on paper. You'll want to check the amended return checkbox on the Form G1. You will only need to file the schedules that have changed. For example, if you realize that the bingo activity was misreported, there's no need to resubmit the original Schedule B2s. Just update the figures on Form G1 and resubmit. But keep in mind, though, that certain changes, such as changes to the combined net receipts tax, will impact subsequent months. Therefore, you may need to file amended returns for those periods as well. Amending returns will wipe out any numbers previously submitted. So make sure that your amended return includes all the activity for the month,
not just the activity that was reported in error. In addition, all previous forms are available on our website.
Now let's briefly go through the G1 return. At the top of the G1 is all the information to tell us who is sending in the return and for what period. If this is an amended return, make sure you check the amended return checkbox. All your identification numbers should be listed, the federal ID number, Minnesota tax ID number, and your gambling license.
Line 1 through 11 here shows the activity for each form of gambling. Column A is the gross receipts, prizes paid are in column B, and the net receipts are in column C. This form summarizes your gambling activity for the month, and these should match your reported figures on the LG 100As and your Schedule B2s. Lines 1 through 4 are used to calculate your net receipts tax. Lines 5 through 9 are going to be used to calculate your combined net receipts tax. And then everything gets totaled on the bottom on line 11. Now we'll move on to the taxes and fees, which are calculated on line 12 through 21. Brief instructions are listed for each line. Taxes will be calculated here, and any tax credits that you have will come off at this point as well. Paper filers will need to stop at this point and complete Worksheet E.
Worksheet E is used to calculate your combined net receipts tax. This is a cumulative tax that operates on the state's fiscal year. It resets on July 1st and goes through June 30th. This is a worksheet, not a schedule. So remember, worksheets are not sent in with your return. Schedules are. In our example, we had no interest or other income, no tip boards or linked bingo, so activities on line 1 through 3 are going to be 0. We did play pull tabs, and our net receipts was $1,000, so we'll enter that amount on line 4. We had no electronic pull tabs for the month, so that's 0 on line 5. We'll take our totals of line 1 through 5 and enter that amount on line 6, which is $1,000. Now we have to take into account our activity from last month. So we'll need to go into line 8 of last month's Worksheet E and bring that number over. Line 8 totals line 6 and 7, which results in the total net receipts so far this fiscal year. This will take into account all the activity we have throughout the year and all our tax that we have paid. So now then we'll go to the tax table to determine our tax. So let's take a look at the table.
This table shows the tax brackets and the tax rates for the year ending June 30th. Now, depending on the activity of an organization, your tax rate may move anywhere from 9 to 36%. Back to this taxes and fees section of the G1. We will input the figure we calculated on Worksheet E. Then up next is the regulatory fee of 0.125% of all gross receipts from gambling. Now make sure to round all numbers to the nearest dollar. If the amount is 49 cents or less, then round down. If it's 50 cents or more, round up. Then line 21 simply totals up the tax amount due.
The rest of the information has no impact on the lawful gambling tax, but is still captured on our return. These totals come from the GCB schedules that you've already completed for lawful purpose expenditures and allowable expenses. You'll also want to enter your current contact information and then sign and date the return. The return must be signed by the CEO, gambling manager, and the preparer. If the preparer is a gambling manager, you do not need to sign twice. The Department of Revenue tracks games from the initial sale to the close of each game. Each month, Revenue receives a file from the manufacturer showing what games are sold to licensed distributors in Minnesota. We also receive a monthly file from the distributor showing what games are sold to licensed gambling organizations in Minnesota. We then receive the tax returns, either paper or electronically, from licensed gambling organizations showing what games were played during the month. If filed on paper, these games are removed from inventory by the scanning of the barcode label sheets. If filed electronically, the data is matched up to sales invoice data provided by the distributor and then removed from open inventory. The certified physical inventory and cash count is required by all organizations regardless of your gross receipts. The inventory must be conducted by 2 volunteers or employees who are not regularly involved with gambling operations or a licensed CPA. The inventory must be completed and submitted to Revenue within 30 days of the organization's fiscal year end. So what is the purpose of these forms? Well, it allows Revenue to verify your open inventory against what our system says that your open inventory should be. So who is required to file the certified inventory? Well, everyone is required to file that. What is the purpose of the certified inventory? The purpose is to verify what games each organization has in their inventory. Certified inventory also helps identify errors and inconsistencies with inventory management. When is it sent? You have 30 days to complete and send it after your fiscal year end. For example, if an org happens to have a fiscal year end on June 30th, then the certified inventory must be completed and sent to us by July 30th. Extensions are allowed and must be in writing before your fiscal year end. Email is okay. So what forms will I need for the certified inventory? Well, you need Form CI, which is the Annual Physical Inventory and Cash Count Summary. You'll have just one of those per organization. And you'll need the Form INV, the Annual Physical Inventory and Cash Count by Site. You'll have one of those for every single one of your sites. Both these forms are available on our website. The annual certified inventory must be completed on paper also. Form INV is used to record the site inventory of games in play and unplayed, as well as the cash count for all forms of gambling. Part 1, the grayed out section, is what 2 people not associated with gambling operations or a licensed CPA would complete. And don't forget Part 3, if you do have bingo, then you do need to include LG 903, the bingo ending inventory, with your certified inventory. This is Form CI, the Annual Physical Inventory and Cash Count Summary. You'll have one of these per organization, and all this is a summary of your cash by site. Yes, sports themed tip boards are included in your certified inventory, just like you would any other barcoded game. They must be tracked in inventory and reported on your Form INV. Annual financial audits are required if your total annual gross receipts equal $750,000 or more. It must be performed by a licensed CPA and is due 6 months from your fiscal year end. An annual financial audit may also be required if you fail to timely file, pay, or take corrective action, or if you filed fraudulent returns. Annual financial audit extensions are allowed, but must be in writing and sent prior to the due date. You may receive a letter from Revenue informing you that your organization has been selected for audit. So what is an audit? An audit is a review of your tax returns and inventory, both played and unplayed. Our goal in an audit is to be sure that we're collecting the right amount of tax, no more, no less, and that you are 100% accountable for your inventory, played and unplayed.
and that your money is spent on mission and gambling related expenses. When can you audit my tax returns? Generally, we have 3.5 years from the due date of the return or the date you file the return, whichever is later. However, if you did not file a return, there is not a time limit. So a typical audit will be 3 to 3.5 years worth of returns. What happens during an audit? During the audit, we'll review the information that we requested from you and compare it to what is reported on your tax returns. What happens at the end of the audit? When we finish the audit, we will send you a clear explanation of our findings and any possible changes that we have made to your returns. There are 4 stages to an audit. There's the initial audit letter and enclosures, where we will mail you a letter informing you that your organization has been selected for an audit. The letter will contain information on the audit, what your next steps will be, such as contacting revenue to schedule the audit. We'll have the audit meeting. After we review the records, the audit outcomes will be determined. Now, audit outcomes can vary depending on issues we've discovered during the audit. We may or may not make adjustments to your tax returns. We will schedule a closing conference to discuss the audit findings and adjustments. If you disagree with the audit results, you can appeal to the Department of Revenue. Taxpayers can also appeal to the Minnesota Tax Court. Taxpayers should contact the tax court or consult their attorney to determine how to properly appeal to the tax court. Instructions on how to request an appeal will be provided in the letter we send. If you have any questions, please refer to the contact information listed on the letter. So what are our common audit findings? We may encounter lapping schemes, lack of supporting documentation, missing games or games destroyed too early, or game count discrepancies. But a lot of these issues can be avoided or prevented by maintaining organized business records, storage of playing games, and preparing for the audit. Messy records means more digging. Don't make us guess. Auditors frequently reward good record keeping by giving you the benefit of the doubt for any problems that arise. Neatness builds your credibility with the auditor. If you don't produce adequate records, the auditor will estimate your income and expenses based on available information. You and key members of the organization have the responsibility to not only prepare the organization for the audit, but to also cooperate with the auditors when they are conducting the audit and respond to auditors' requests timely for further information during the entire process. The majority of our audits do result in no adjustments, and most organizations are doing a great job. However, they are just reminders of how quickly things can change. It's important for you as a gambling manager to be aware of these common issues and to have good internal controls in place and have segregation of duties. So how long do I keep played game remnants? Played game remnants are to be kept for 3.5 years. But 3.5 years from when? For game remnants, it's 3.5 years from the due date of the return on which the game was reported or the date you actually filed the return, whichever is later. Then there is no expiration on the retention date for unplayed games in open inventory. For example, if you close a game on June 14th, 2019, the game was reported on the tax return for June 2019. The return was filed on time, July 20th, 2019. The earliest you would be able to destroy that game would be January 20th, 2023. If a return is filed late, it will have a different retention period. It's 3.5 years from when the return was filed. If you're unsure if the retention period is up, you can always contact us and ask. Now let's change gears a little bit and talk about the organization's accountability. It's important to understand that your organization is 100% accountable for maintaining tax and inventory records, implementing internal controls, segregation of duties, and knowing who's playing, selling, and conducting gambling activity at your sites. When an organization delegates too much authority to one person, or when a person takes over the gambling operations, such as purchasing games, auditing games, making deposits, preparing tax returns, without any other oversight, theft often occurs. Lawful gambling is a cash business. When you have huge sums of money passing through a person's hand, there is that temptation to take a little or temporarily borrow the money. They think no one will notice. That's why it's so important that members of the organization are involved with the gambling operations. They provide oversight, approve expenditures, and participate in the day-to-day operations. Major problems can be prevented by being involved and asking questions. I encourage you to sign up to receive email alerts from the Department of Revenue. You can sign up on the main page or on the home page of your tax type. Now, there are many different topics to choose from, so you can get the information you need right in your inbox. Thank you for listening today. If you have any questions, please visit our website.